It might be new music for the countdown, but it is still the same old long box punk. That's me. I'm Chris. I'm the punk, and I am joined by post punk show alumni Sean, my dude. Thank you for hanging back out with me and taking time out of a Monday evening to talk about your latest show, your latest comic with me on the show.
I appreciate having me back.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of fun last time.
Hey man, I like as soon as you sent me the elevator pitch, as it were, for Recon and the little one, I was like, dude, robots, zombies, protecting the last girl on Earth. Like, I'm in. It sells itself. I'm super in on it. I think a ton of other people will be as well if they're not already backing. So before we get into that comic, for those that may have missed, shame on you, the first time that you were on the show, give me a bit of your origin story, like how you came into making comics and how we ended up now with Recon in 2025.
Yeah, so it's been a little over 2 years now, which I don't even imagine doing anything else at this point. It's just insane. It's been that long. So I'm always been a reader my entire life. My dad grew up with comics. He's got 20,000 plus comics when I was growing up. So I looked at everything that he had from the 60s on. And so that was a blessing. And I was kind of forced upon that, which I'm happy with. And eventually I was reading Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead Deluxe. I read all of the black and white, but I started collecting the colored version just because now it was in color. And I didn't even realize at first the back of the book had his outline, just a simple like one sentence per page of what he wanted to accomplish. And I was like, oh crap, it's that easy to start. Why not try? And that was the first like idea that I had that I could at least try to do something with this. I did Scott Snyder's Best Jacket Press class, and I did the writing class with him. I met with him once a month actually for a year, and he's read all my scripts and gave advice and everything like that. And I've just continued on. I've done The Fog Within, issues 1 through 3, which is what we were talking about before.
Yep.
And now, when I was actually in the campaign for number 3, I was talking to a fellow creator. He's like, you have to do another story, right? You can't just do The Fog Within. And I had no idea what I would do or even thought about even doing something else. I just wanted to get that story across. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to, try at least. And I came up with, in Scott Snyder's class, actually, he's talked about the best stories come from fears that are in your life, either past or present. And those are the most personal, and then continue on from there with whatever story you make it. So this idea came from the fear of my daughter growing up in this crazy world that we're living in, which is even crazier than when I wrote it last year.
Right.
And how, as a father, I want to protect her. And this it became robots versus zombies protecting that last girl on Earth, which is my daughter and her stuffed bunny.
That's awesome. And so, I love that you included the bunny too. I was going to ask, like, does your daughter have a bunny like that?
Oh yeah. I literally sent the artist the picture of her bunny and said, this needs to be exactly this, maybe a little like more destroyed, like it's been in an apocalypse kind of setting.
Yeah.
But this is her bunny. She actually has 2 of them. One was, if it's in the wash, she always has it with her. And then she found it in the closet one day. So now she literally sleeps with 2 of these bunnies.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And that's such like a daughter thing to have, like a dedicated, mine always had like this giant overstuffed foam cow thing that like had those little almost like beanbag chair beans in it, but like way smaller, so that it was hypoallergenic and all that stuff, but you could just smush it. And she used to like tuck its face into its head and then let go and watch the head like come back. I was like, you're
very entertaining.
You're kind of twisted for a 4-year-old. You're definitely my daughter. Yeah.
Nice.
So no, I love that. I love also like as she gets older, you can be like, hey, like your bunny, like this story is about you and your bunny. Like this is, I just think like I love celebrating dad wins. And so like, I just think that's super cool that you've got now like this legacy for your daughter of like, hey, no, you're in a comic with this bunny, which is just super. Like, what is your, does her mom think the same? Like, yeah, this is super rad.
Yeah.
Or is she like,
No, she thinks it's cool. So does my son. because actually me and my son are the robot. Basically, it's me as the protector, and the quirky attitude that the robot has, kind of like a Wally type robot,
Yeah.
is my son. So
Nice.
everybody involved, and yeah, she's just, it looks exactly like her. The girl is my daughter. So
That's great. That's so cool, man.
thank you.
So all right, so we'll talk more about like this story and the universe that you're doing, but I also, because you're returning, and we talked about how your creative process works, and we really got into a really cool chat about Scott Snyder's class, which I didn't even know he did. Because it, like, that dude does everything for everyone all the time, it seems like. And
Oh
anytime
yeah,
I see him on social media, like, he's replying to people on Blue Sky.
yeah, it's
And I,
crazy.
like, I tested it once and I replied to something and like he responded back and I was like, dude, you're insane. Like, how, dude? I can't keep track of
Yeah,
mine. You're Scott Snyder. Like,
he's like in charge of like a lot of DC right now with the, the Absolute Universe and everything. I mean, he's
yeah.
like number 2 in charge or number 1 in charge of that. I mean, that's, and he's still talking to everybody. It's insane. Yeah,
Yeah, to have Absolute Batman going back for I think it's fourth printing,
yeah,
like
4th or 5th. Yeah.
it's just insane how
Mhm.
gangbusters that story went. And I picked up the first one because I wanted to know what the hype was about.
Oh
And
yeah,
I read it and I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, no, this is
right.
really this is really good.
Definitely different. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's a nice new twist.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So and my buddy Chris is sounding off of like, I love how real Snyder is. Like he's always just like it just he's so authentic. And
Yeah.
like having watched other interviews that he's done, like he was on Nerd Initiative when I was involved with them, and like they had him on to talk about the Absolute Universe stuff, and he was just such a nice freaking dude.
Yeah.
And like that's just how he seems every time I see anything, like watching his videos walk around cons or like, just interacting his posts. It's never like, oh, look, like he could easily be the like, I'm Scott Snyder, I
Exactly.
write also, but he's not. He's
No,
like,
not at all.
yeah, like I make comic books, like,
Yep.
tell me about yours. What
Well,
are you doing?
it's actually funny too because I saw him at a con like when I was still meeting with him once a month, but he meets with a lot of guys. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So he has like, I don't know, 20 meetings or so every Thursday, something like that, with indie guys. And I was in his line. I was kind of far back, and he saw me and he pointed me out. And he's like, come up to the front because I was in this class and everything. And he tells my
Yeah.
son before he even says like, what's your name or anything, like he already knew who I was. And he was like, your dad's an awesome writer. I was like pointing to my son and was like, my son was just like, whoa. So yeah, and then he was trying to shoot the breeze about how his Yankees are doing and stuff like that. And he's like, where are you going to be later? I'm going to try to see if I can find you and we can hang out. It's like, okay, I'm just going to hang out with Scott Snyder at a random con.
Yeah,
Sure.
super cash.
But I appreciated that, though. I appreciated the comment at least.
Yeah, like the personability that takes to like not just remember your face, but remember your name, and
Yeah.
then like just to remember those details, and to be able to like give you and your son this badass moment of Scott Snyder saying that you're an awesome writer to your son. Like,
Yeah,
dude, that's just like, that's so peak.
exactly. Yeah, it was definitely a highlight of the year for sure last year. So
Yeah, that's rad. And like you had The Fog Within come out, all 3 issues for that, which were excellent.
thank you.
And like super excited to see where you might continue to take that story if you do.
No. Yep.
But also like I'm glad that your buddy was like, you can't just do the one title, like you got to
Right.
do more stuff, because you definitely have a very fun writing style. And
Thank you.
I think like putting the idea of a robot saving a girl with a bunny against zombies in like this post-apocalyptic insane world, it's just a really fun premise. And so I
Right.
definitely look forward to it.
Thank you.
And like for housekeeping, business, logistics stuff, it's currently running. You've got 87 backers, which seems like an awesome number to have. You've got 25 days to go. You're creeping up on your goal. I don't know what that math is, but I'm going to guess that that's like 80% there, 23
Yeah,
of
sounds right.
3,000. Yeah. So people have until Friday, March 21st to get in on the campaign. I'm not going to say the cursing thing. So plenty of time, right? You got plenty of time.
Yep.
And like, you've got some really awesome variant covers. that you've got planned. It's not just like a cool comic that you've got a really nicely put together campaign.
Thank
And
you.
so because you've been on before, I'm kind of leading into like my ask of, hey, can we talk like different stuff this time? Because now that you've done 3 successful Kickstarters, this is your 4th one, you're
Mhm.
starting a brand new universe, you've got plans to expand this out and have
Yep.
other stories, which we're definitely going to get into because I like what you're doing with it. But like, I just want to know how. Like, how are you doing all of these? Like, what is it like setting up a Kickstarter? How do you find the variant cover artists? And then, like, how do you commission that with them? Do you copyright your books? Like, how does that even work? Do you just print it in and that makes it true? Like, all of these things are questions that I want to ask you. And so, take a stab at any that you want. I've got them written down.
Yeah.
So like, let's start with setting up a Kickstarter. So like, how do you just go into Kickstarter and like, if you have a profile, just go like start project and then build a page? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's very basic at first. It's definitely just like a blank. They have it like rewards, story, basic. Like basic is like where the video is, what you want to have as your budget, that kind of thing. The tagline that everybody sees at the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
But the main thing is the story side, and that's just completely blank. It's just a white wall of nothing. You have to do everything yourself, which is
Perfect.
definitely daunting. But the more Kickstarters I've done, the easier it's gotten. Like I have like pre-planned things that I've used before, and I can just change it for this new campaign. So like I use, instead of just like blank white background for a lot of the stuff, like showing rewards and everything like that, I'll have a certain page that I use of the 5 or 6 pages that I'll have complete on there, but it'll just be the lines and then like the inks, and then I'll just change the background color. So this time it's gray, so it's a cool like background, and it's real nice and easy too. So I'll use that, and then I just put in whatever, like the trading card or the comic on there, and it just makes it look more professional. So it's a nice and easy way. It's a cheat for me as a designer, because I'm definitely not the design guy, trying to use as many cheats as I can possibly do. And the biggest thing that I've learned too is look at everyone else's Kickstarters, and whatever you like, typically everyone else likes too. So try to emulate whatever you see. And I saw that plenty of times on other campaigns early on, and I've been doing that since number 2. So
I have noticed as I think about it, because these are all questions that even as my like comic reading experience has evolved, where I'm like, I want to read superheroes, and I'm like, what else is there besides superheroes? Oh my god, there's so many other things besides superheroes. And then I get into like, how is it made? Why is it made? What are the fundamentals? How does it fit together? Like, why does the story work? And I start asking all that because I want to blow everything up, like that Tony Stark moment where you're just
right.
Like I want to do that with like comics, with media, with movies, with TV shows. And now that I'm getting more and more into like looking at Kickstarter campaigns, and I've had people like, hey, can you take a look at my like pre-launch page? It's not public yet, but like, I just want to get another set of eyes to see if there's anything I'm missing. And I'm like, I don't know why you're asking me. Like, I'll give you opinions if you want them. Like that legitimately used to be my job, was giving feedback to people. But like, I don't know that I'm the person because I don't understand what you put into it. And so like, I just want to Tony Stark everything.
Right.
And so now I'm starting to like, anytime anybody sends me a Kickstarter link, see, I get really excited and I just ripped the cord out of my head, but they're Bluetooth. So like, it's fine. But like, see, I'm just excited, John. I'm
glad.
So like, as I look at Kickstarters, I start to notice the like people are using the same background as like an image and then putting whatever their story is or whatever their rewards are, whatever their add-ons are on top of it. So it feels like, I don't know. It feels like when MySpace was a big thing and like we all learned how to code, like, it feels
codes and everything.
All these signs with the BR to get the line breaks and stuff. That stuff that like somehow somehow still sticks with me.
I totally forgot about that, but that's totally true though.
Yeah, like you have to do the carrots and the B with
Oh,
the slash and the R, and that's how you get a line break. So if you want to add like a playlist, because I did that all the time, you have to like, I don't just want a paragraph block of text. I want it as a list. And so you
right.
had to do that at the end of every single thing. And it was awful. But it stuck with me, and I don't know where I can ever use it, but I have that skill, adding it
Right.
to the special skills in my resume section. But so I'm noticing a lot of, it feels very much like an open form, like setting up any sort of blog or whatever, where it's like, here's the form, here's the skeleton, and then you fill in the pieces. But then I see some that are like crazy bonkers full of stuff. And then I see some that are just like, here's simple text and here's the stuff, here are my rewards, back my stuff.
Right.
And so like, how do you, is it just based on this is what I would want to see on a campaign page, so this is what I include on mine? Like, how do you make those choices for what makes it and what doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I mean, I've also learned a lot from like Comics Launch with Tyler James. I mean, he gives ideas of exactly what people are looking for. It's all about building confidence, honestly. So anything that you put on there, it has to have a purpose, just like a story would.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're telling your story in a complete different way to sell that story. So it's like a second writer's type of idea that you have to get across without showing everything.
Yeah.
Like the comic would be. So like, for instance, at the top, I have, we're back with our 4th Kickstarter. We've fully funded our first 3 in the last 2 years of the Fog Within 1 through 3. So they can immediately say, okay, this guy's been here before. He's definitely fulfilled. He's not going to take our money and leave.
Yeah.
And they can go research that. So that's like the first thing that I have on there. And then I'm telling, the quick elevator pitch. And then I'm telling, how many pages, because everybody wants to know, okay, it's going to cost this much. But sometimes people don't say it's 24 pages, it's 36 pages. They're just guessing. You don't want anybody to guess because you're going to lose, backers for that.
Yeah.
So pretty much everything you have on there is to show confidence that this will be a thing. This will be awesome. And I've done this before. I'm not trying to scam anybody. I want to get my name out there, and I want to have people love my stuff and enjoy it with me. So
cool. Yeah. And it's definitely, it's like the movie trailers, right? Like I avoid them like the plague, because everybody always puts way too much into the trailer to get those day one opening box office weekend numbers. But for me, I'm like, you're ruining like, if you didn't know from the poster that Red Hulk was in the new Captain America movie, what a right? Like what a freaking reveal that would have been when it happens in the movie. Like, and people would have lost their damn minds. And I didn't watch any Multiverse of Madness trailers because I was very much like, they can bust everything open. Like everything is on the table. And I don't want to watch the trailer because they could make some sort of like, just like a reference to something about a character that might show up. And then suddenly everything is Mephisto, like it was when I was watching WandaVision. Like there's a moth on the curtain and that's Mephisto. And it's like, nah, it's just a moth. Like
I wish there was Mephisto, but it's okay.
Yeah. Like everything actually was Mephisto, but it's fine. But like I had a very different viewing experience in that movie because I didn't know any of the people that were coming. And so I didn't know Krasinski was in it. I didn't know Peggy was coming back. I didn't know about Charles Xavier coming back. And when they showed the chair sliding in and they played, like, it was like an overture from the original animated series theme song, my hair is standing up thinking about it. I literally out loud was like, the overture. And everybody around me started giggling because they all knew. And I had no idea. And it was such a great moment for me in that movie where it's like, I'm never forgetting that. And it's because I didn't watch any of the trailers. So it feels like a Kickstarter page is kind of like a trailer then for your book, where you got to give away a little bit of this stuff without giving the whole thing away.
Yeah. So I've been told different things too. So, and it makes sense. Something that I think is going to be a big reveal that's actually going to ruin it for a reader for when they actually have it physically in front of them. They're going to have no idea what they're looking at the moment because it's out of context. So
Okay.
I think it's a big reveal. Like I had, I think it was for the Fog Within #3. I had a huge like double page on there, and I had also this the double page like side view. I don't even know what you call it. I just
Okay.
did like a totally different thing. And I thought that would be a big reveal and it would ruin things, but people loved how it looked. And that's all they cared about at the moment because they didn't have the context to it.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be a huge issue because I know the entire story, but it's not necessarily the same case as like a regular trailer, like for a movie. Cause yeah, a lot of times they do give away way too much, and it's sad, especially like shows nowadays, like on FX, especially for some reason, they'll tell you like what the entire episode is for the next thing. And I'm like, what the heck? Why am I going to watch the next hour if you just told me in like 2 minutes at the tail end of what just happened? Like you left a cliffhanger and you just told me what had happened. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The whole point of a story is that shock and awe, that great reveal. So
it's funny that you mentioned that because so my wife loves cooking shows. Like that's her comfort thing. Whereas I'm like, put on anything like 80s wrestling and I don't even care. I'll watch it all day. It doesn't matter who the chef is other than Bobby Flay, because he seems very arrogant and we don't like Bobby Flay in this house, but we love Gordon Ramsay. So she was watching, she was catching up on Hulu for the finale of Hell's Kitchen. And they showed a commercial for next week's episode where they already had, like, they showed the final 2 people. And she was like, why am I even watching the rest of the show? Like, I know who gets eliminated at the end of it. And it was like halfway through the episode. Like, come on, Hulu, be better.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. That's like, so when building the Kickstarter page, is that all like, have you been 100% behind all of that? Or do you involve the artist with that too?
Yeah. I mean, I tell them, which pages that we want to complete for the Kickstarter first. Cause like I wrote the story in September. And then I found Dave in October. He started in November and he had all the line art done by December, which is insane. That's not normally how it goes. He's finishing colors now because I had to wait for a bonus to come in before I could do that, because I want to be pretty much complete by the time the Kickstarter is over. But yeah, he's almost done with the colors now too, and it's just an insane process. But when he did the line art, it was really easy to pick. Okay, can I tell like a little mini story to intrigue people in this time? Because like most of the time you'll do like the first 5 pages or the first 6 pages, something like that, and then there's not always like an end to that. It's a continue on for the rest of the story. Whereas the pages I have for this Kickstarter, I was able to finish like a little mini story of making you intrigued enough to want to buy it. Basically, by the end, you know that Recon has been in the situation before, that he has had to help humans and he failed. And this is his reconciliation. And he doesn't want to fail this time. And so by the time of the last page that's on the Kickstarter, that's lettered anyways, is I won't fail this time. I will be better. And so you'll want to know more of why he's been through this, what's going to change, how he's going to be better, that kind of thing. So I try to do like a little mini story and have like a beginning and an end. So that worked out really nicely too, I think. That, and I actually added another page because I got to 150 followers, which was insane. And I said, if I get there, I'm going to show an extra page that shows a lot of heart to it. And it's basically, it's not lettered, but it's a page where she's grabbing for her bunny because a zombie basically stepped on it. And she leaves Recon's safety, goes for the bunny, and now she's holding it for dear life in like the fetal position, and zombies are swarming her. And Recon's looking back from afar, seeing this happen. So it's kind of also supposed to intrigue you, like what's going to happen after that. So
yeah, and it's a visually striking page. Like it's
it's
definitely like high tension, high emotion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did you find Dave to join on with the story?
Yeah, so I've actually got a couple of his Kickstarters before. The first one I read of his was actually from the hospice stuff with
Oh, okay.
Travis Gibb.
Yeah.
So he did Travis Gibb's story,
That's my
and I
favorite
just
story.
loved his art. So that's where I saw him first, and then I saw he's done, he's done a million things. It's insane of the amount of stuff he's done, honestly. And I just kept on seeing stuff. And what I wanted, the biggest thing I needed for Recon was I needed to be a robot, but an emotional, like you can see like the emotion in his eyes and the face and everything. And not everybody can really pull that off.
Yeah.
It's not an easy feat to do with this metallic, there's not really any motion in it.
Yeah.
And we did a couple sketches, and it was just perfect. So I had to go with them.
That's
So
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
it's that same thing with like nobody but God, now I'm gonna blank on his name. Hugo Weaving could play V in V for Vendetta with the mask on and
Right.
make that Guy Fawkes mask have so much emotion behind it. Other than like you put anybody else there and you're like, no, this doesn't work.
That's
Him
true.
for whatever reason was just like, that movie's perfection. Though, like it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, like Natalie Portman is my forever crush. Like I think
Oh,
she's
nice.
just incredible and beautiful and all the things. And my wife knows, she's aware.
That's
Hers is Orlando Bloom, so like
oh,
Pirates for us was a really great viewing experience. So okay, so like you've connected with Dave, you've got the line art quickly, which is probably why he does all of the things all the time.
yep.
He's working on colors. Like, are you? And you don't have to answer this, by the way. You can be like, but like when it comes to paying artists, and this is something that I've always wanted to ask any other writer. I just never, I don't know. I'm in a mood tonight. So, because it's Monday and like
Yeah.
Mondays are Monday, I'm always curious as a writer, like why, when you're looking for a collaborator to make this story, why is it that the writer is paying the artist to turn in pages instead of like, hey, we're making this together, so we'll wait until we make it and then sell it and then we get paid together instead of me paying you to make the thing that we're both working on?
Yeah.
Like how does that relationship thing work when it's like, hey, because then it kind of feels like, hey, I got a story, can I commission you to like draw this story for me for this comic, and then I can use the comic? Like, is it because as the creator you're going to get paid after it's made and are selling it, that then it makes sense to pay the artist up front instead of like both not getting paid anything until you're selling it? Does that make
Right. I
sense?
mean, it depends. I mean, if you're a longer standing indie creator that has like a track record of, 10 plus books, and you're always hitting this kind of number on Kickstarter and that kind of thing, then you have a little bit more leverage. Like you have a name for yourself that you can be co-creators and do that kind of thing, or do like I've heard people do like half up front, or half during the process and then half when it comes out kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you're a newer creator, then there's no guarantee that artists spending all these hours, blood, sweat, and tears doing this, that they're going to get their money for it. So if you're doing your first book and say, hey, I have any money, but I have a cool story, you might get paid in the future. And this is sometimes is their livelihood. Sometimes this is a part-time job type thing.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee at that point.
Right.
And I mean, I have a track record now, but I don't have that kind of track record,
Yeah.
And also, like you said, you'll be able to sell it as a writer after the fact. So you've printed it, you've done the Kickstarter, you got that money. Now you're going to cons, you're selling it at cons, whereas they're not necessarily doing that themselves as the artist. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So it just depends. I've definitely heard plenty of different things. Some guys will just do, like I said, do it as co-creators, and they do get it that way at the same time. But not a lot of the time, I don't think.
Yeah, it definitely, like, as I've just done, because it's always one of those things that I like hate even asking, because I don't want to devalue the artist's work or time.
Yeah.
It's also the, like, as the writer, like, you're also putting in time though. Like, it's not. And so I just have never, like, that makes sense to, I'm a external processors. So sometimes I just need to talk through things to be like,
Yeah.
oh no, that makes sense. Like that's now that I'm thinking about it, like, yeah, it's always the writers that are like when there's two, as opposed to like a cartoonist who does all of the things on
Right.
their own. But it is a lot of times thinking about going to cons. It's like, yeah, I wrote this book and I have this guy doing the artwork. It's never like, yeah, this guy hired me to do the artwork and like, here's the book. And he wrote this really kick-ass story. And like, look at these cool lines that I do. Like, it's always the
Right.
writer that's got the thing. It's just like a fascinating,
Yeah.
like, and talking about money and getting paid and paying other people to do the thing when also like recognizing that a lot of indie creators are doing this as a fun hobby or like a
Right.
passion project, and burning the midnight oil or getting up and slamming an entire pot of coffee at like 5 a.m. before they even go to their full-time job. Like
Right.
it's hard to balance those things because you can't think about it as transactional as like a normal job.
Right.
Like if I went to my job and had to work for them for 3 months before we got the quarterly earnings, and then I got a bonus check or like my payment at the end of 3 months, I'd be like,
Right.
you're insane, I'm not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so like at thinking about it from that perspective as the artist, that totally makes sense of like, like of course you're going to pay me, like, because I can go to this other dude and he's going to pay me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like you both have kick-ass stories, so because there's a lot of really awesome writers and
Right.
artists out there, so like, okay, cool. See, we're just working through stuff, Sean.
It is a weird dynamic, honestly. I mean, even the artists will say they hate asking for money. Like
Yeah.
some of my artists, because I'm doing, The Fog Within and this, and I'm actually doing anthologies now too. So everybody does a little differently. Some people are saying, every page pay me, and some people are saying, pay me every 5 pages, like ahead of time, or whatever. It's just everybody has their own thing, whatever works for them. And as long as their art is kick ass and I'm cool with it, then I can trust them. And I've seen their track record as well. So I have a track record as a writer. They have a track record on, the internet, everything's there. You can't make it go away. And if you piss someone off, everyone knows it, especially in the indie scene. So you can't really hide if you had any issues.
Yeah.
So like I said, everybody's different though. So it just depends.
Yeah. And like, see, now we're getting like super brass tacks, but this is the Tony Stark thing. Like, have there been like negotiation conversations where you're like, I can't do X amount per page. Like, you got to meet me in the middle or whatever. Like, we're just trying to make this thing together for a Kickstarter. Like, come on. Like, is there any of that? And is that like as real as it is? Cause like, I'm a broke dude. So I'm always like, I can't afford that. But like, is that a disrespectful thing to do, to like have those conversations? Or is it like, hey, I trust you, so like I'll figure it out, but just be aware?
I guess it depends on both people's situation. So like if they don't have anything going on right now, anything coming in is better than nothing. So if you tell them like, I'm doing an anthology right now, and I said, hey, I'm getting paid this much for the anthology, I can't pay your regular rate, but I think you'd be perfect for it. Do you have the time on the side to do this story? Are you cool with that? Do you love this story? Here's the story first. See if you want to do that. And then if they're newer or if they're just not busy at all, then they'll say, typically I've seen they're willing to negotiate and talk about it. So yeah, it just depends on everybody's situation. If you're not busy at all, then yeah, more money or anything coming in is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And being real with them too, not trying to say, oh, I'm only going to pay you this much because I'm this awesome. That's not going to work out. But if you're being real and saying, I don't have that kind of money to do this, but I love your art, where can we meet in the middle for that? It definitely happens for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So dear future artists that I reach out to, it's Sean's fault when I say
Sean says you will do this for me, and he thanks you.
Episode 67, 35 minutes is when Sean, it's all him, man. It's not me.
Right.
He's a trusted name. I'm just a no.
Right.
So speaking of artists and like working with them, you always happen to find like freaking kick-ass variant cover artists. How like, how in the hell does that work? Is that similar to looking for like a collaborative sequential artist where you're like, I'm going to look through portfolios or stuff on social media or put out an ask and then look at stuff? And then is that more of like the commission style? Like, how does that, because that's what my brain assumes. But again, I've never done this. So
Yeah, so it's, I mean, everything that I've found so far is different Facebook groups. I mean, I've also on Twitter and Blue Sky and everything, I see everybody's portfolios all the time. And if I like something, then I immediately screenshot, that thing they're showing and their name, and I have it in a folder. So if I ever want to use it for in the future, I have way too many screenshots in my phone from looking at comics to like sound effects, or this panel. I have so many screenshots of that and artists that I found online in my phone. It's probably half of what my pictures are on my phone. Like my kids and comic book stuff.
yeah,
like everything.
that's perfect. See, mine is like memes and wrestling gifs, and like that's 80% of my phone. And then like a couple of my daughter and like 2 of my dog and maybe 1 of my wife and I together.
Nice.
So okay, so it is through like the similar channels of just like in the trenches looking for artists and stuff like that.
No, yeah, you never know what you're gonna find. So as soon as you see it, you don't want to lose it. So take a snapshot, and it's there forever. It's in the folder for comic ideas.
That's such a smart idea to have that. Like I'm as tech savvy as I like to think I am. I'm always hearing and learning stuff like that where I'm like, God, that makes so much sense. Why am I doing that? Another one was, and this is for anybody that's similar to me that has a ton of memes or like ridiculous saved, like just dumb gifts that you like to send all the time.
Right.
Somebody took a screenshot of like, show me your favorite funny reaction gifs. And like they took a screenshot and it was a folder literally called like funny reaction gifs on their phone. And I was like,
Nice.
Oh my God, I don't have to search through my entire, why have I never done this, baby? So now I have like a funny folder, and that's where I save all my memes and gifs and stuff. So when I need to send Stone Cold swimming through beer on a wrestling mat with empty cans, I know exactly where that is in my phone. But that comic idea one, that's a great idea because it's true. Like, and you try and use the like red pin thing on Blue Sky, which I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah,
and like sending it to yourself, but then you send so many things to yourself that you're like, I don't even know. Like it's not organized or easy. Having a folder like that makes it like, ooh, you know what? I have a folder for like that. Just I'm definitely stealing that. And I might just call it Sean's folder and no one will understand it but me and you.
Nice.
And I love, I love insight stuff like that. That's great. All right. So since you're dropping knowledge and blowing my mind with very, just make a folder, idiot. Okay. So like logistically then, so you've got your variant covers, you've got like, when you're working with your printer, how does that conversation happen for someone that's like, hey, I'm gonna be sending you, if this is successful, a print run and I've got variants and I'm gonna need like, I have heard that there's minimum orders, especially with like the metal or the foil or specially treated covers. But like, how does that work when do you arrange something with your printer first, or like once you know your numbers, then you reach out and have that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, typically when you have your numbers, so like there is plenty of things that are minimums on certain sites, but there's also ones that'll do print on demand for different things and for specialty things. So like my metals and my foils, they're on demand, so I don't have to worry about that. So I do get more than what I'm printing for backers, for cons and just for me personally, because they're just so kick ass. I just love how they look. It's insane. It's insane what they can do, honestly, nowadays. But yeah, you definitely want to look at all the different sites and then talk to other creators too. I mean, I'm in so many different Discords and messenger groups on Facebook and just always talking, always communicating with other guys that have been doing it longer than me. See what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. I mean, I've changed who I print through because I've talked to creators, and prices right now, especially, it's crazy out there. So you definitely you have to have the wealth of information. You can't always get it on your own. It's part of the community. And if I didn't have the community, I definitely wouldn't have even finished the first one. I wouldn't have funded the first one, let alone I'm getting this far in. And now I'm helping other people that are coming in new, or trying to at least show what I've learned. So yeah, I definitely talk to them. Like if there's, like, for instance, now there's embossed, however you want to say it, metal cover.
Yeah.
And that's insane. And I thought it was perfect for a robot book to have an embossed cover, to have like the robot just like popping out of you in a metal cover. So I asked questions about that before I put that on the Kickstarter, because I don't want to say, hey, I'm going to do it, and then it flops and I can't provide what someone already bought. So I have asked questions, and how many layers and how the layers work and things like that, because you have to do it yourself. Hire somebody to do it for you. You can do that. But I'm trying to do as much as I can on my own. I can't letter, I can't draw, I can't color. So what can I do, to save myself some money on the backside? And it's definitely a learning curve, but when you learn it, you don't unlearn it. So the next campaign is that much easier. So yeah, there is some talking beforehand, but it's mainly after the campaign's over.
Cool. And I love, like, one of my secret words, like remember Pee-wee's Playhouse? You're that age, right? Where they would have the word of the day, and like the couch would be like, "Ma!" I have Pee-wee's like phrases that all like inside I'm the couch. And anytime talking about like the strength of the community, I'm the couch. I couch it, like talk about the indie comics community, because it's important to have your people, and to like, making comics, as communal as it seems, can be very isolating. And so anytime hearing indie creators talk about like, no, the strength in Discord groups or Facebook messengers or Facebook groups or whatever, like all of those things are just like, give it to me. Like, I want to hear all of those things, because I love it. And I want to just encourage anybody that might be like, I want to make comics, but I don't even know anything. And so like, how can I? And it's just me. But it's not just you, because there's this whole community. And sometimes you just got to use a bunch of hashtags on your favorite social media site and see what people are saying, and find people that way and reach out, because 9 times out of 10, the people that I've reached out to, like, hey, I have a question. Like, I don't understand this thing, or like, why are you doing that? They respond, and also like, here's all of these extra things that you can use. Like, it's just super supportive and helpful. And I love,
yeah, but I mean, it's totally true. I mean, and it is a very isolating thing. I mean, you're with your collaborators, but you don't always get feedback. Like, you finish your Kickstarter, you send it out, people don't always come back to you saying, hey, this page was awesome, or I don't understand this page, or they don't give you feedback on the writing. So like, talking to other writers or other artists in these Discords and everything, they're willing to look at your whole script. They're willing to look at your campaign before you go live, always talking, always communicating. Yeah. It's huge. Awesome. Yeah. I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have made this book if this random conversation I had during the Fog Within 3 happened. He just said, hey, you need to have another book. And that was the thing that sparked this book. It never would have happened.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
I love it. Mm-hmm. All the things. All right. So logistically then, so like, you've done the Kickstarter, and I guess this is way more thought out than I thought I was thinking it. So I'm just taking you step by step through the process. So you get the Kickstarter, it successfully funds, yay, your couch, and
that's always gonna be stuck in my head now. Yes. The night that it finishes, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. Call me, like, just FaceTime me or whatever, and I'll just do it for you. Totally willing to do that. But yeah, so like, you finish the campaign, your couch goes crazy, and then what? Like, I know Kickstarter funds take like 2 weeks to release to the creatives, and then you've got the money so you can place the printing order, and all the extras and specials and add-ons and all of the extra things, and then it's a waiting game for those to get shipped to you, and then fulfillment starts?
For the most part, yeah. So like not everybody has it completely done by the end. So like I have a drawing tier for one, so that page won't be done. So as soon as the funds come in, you know, that people that wanted the drawing tier, as soon as I make sure that I do have their money, I don't want to put them in the book beforehand.
Yeah.
Because you know, if it doesn't go through or whatever. But once that's done, I have to get, you know, photos from those guys and then get the artist to do it, then the coloring's done, and then lettering that page after the fact. So that, for instance, that would be the next steps for my Kickstarter specifically. But there are plenty of people out there that even, you know, seasoned guys that have like the line art done and none of the colors, and the Kickstarter helps them fund that side of things. So then they're going to coloring, and then they're going to print and everything. But that when you finally get to the printing side of things, it definitely is a long waiting game, and it feels like forever, especially as a creator, because you finally are at this stage where you can have it in your hands, and it's not in your hands yet, and that is so frustrating.
Yeah, like you've run this huge sprint to get to the finish line, and then you cross the finish line, and then someone's like, actually you have 4 more laps.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Exactly. It's very frustrating. And then you have to, you know, make sure everything's formatted correctly, getting it approved, whether it's in hand for the one approval, or it's digitally approved or whatever. That's a whole process, and communicating with the printers and everything. And yeah, it's roughly about 4 weeks or so once you're at that point.
Okay.
And then the hard part is you have it in your hands, you're excited, and now you have to send it to all the backers.
Yeah.
And that takes, I mean, the last one, I didn't tell anybody that it came in because it came in early. So I had like 2 days in my hands, and I started putting it together, and I sent them all out the same day, and then told everybody, hey, it's here. And by the way, it's already in the mail for you, you know, because I don't want to, like, what if something happened, I got sick, hey, they're here, but it's going to be another 2 weeks till you get them, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the
no
surprise I thought was
on.
better. Yeah.
It's always the like, and saying it out loud sounds maybe bad, but it's always the under promise over deliver.
Oh yeah.
Like if you don't say that, hey, they're here, and suddenly it's the, hey, they're here and already in the mail for you. It's like,
Right.
oh, that's
Yeah,
2 in 1. Like that's the sweet spot. So when I want to go back to something you said, because you mentioned like formatting it for print. Is that not the same as just like combine PDF files, order, save? Like, is it not that simple?
No, because the artist is going to do it one way, and they have like the bleed on the sides and everything else, and then the colorist, he a lot of times will fill in the bleed with his colors and everything.
Yeah.
And you don't send that. You have to format the page.
Down.
Now,
Okay.
I don't do it. I have done like my my little ad in the back for my next issue. I've done that just because it's very easy. It's just, okay, block in this and just fill that in and put my stuff in and the bleed and everything. But the rest of the book is formatted by my letterer. So I trust him with that. He'll tell me if something won't work. So like in the past with like our double page spreads, for whatever reason, it's always off by a little bit, and it's going to need some very difficult formatting to make it work. So something might be out of it, but no one knows that that little part is missing except for me. So we make sure that it works. Otherwise it's off, you know, angle and everything. And then when you open the book, like his head is like halfway through the middle and it doesn't work out, you know? So that's definitely a complicated thing. And I could definitely learn that. But if I trust my letterer, then I leave him to that. And I know he's going to make a great book because he does this all day, every day. So,
yeah. So speaking of like faces in the middle, I'm always like, anytime that happens and it's in a trade, like a collected, especially if it's more than like 3 issues,
right,
to get that binding flat enough that I can actually see, or if it's the worst when there's like a bubble of text. And it's like, man, I gotta crush this spine just to get it flat so I can read. Like, I just don't. I just am like, I'm just not even reading it because I don't. But like in a floppy, if it's 22, 24 pages, because it has to be in multiples of 4, right?
4, yeah.
So whatever that number is, 24. Yeah, fast math. So if it's 24 pages, because it's essentially 12 long pages folded in half. Do you have to, like, when you format it, do you have to format for that aspect of it? Or is it literally like, here's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4? Like, do
Yeah,
you go in order and the printer then is like,
yeah,
okay,
they
here's
do
how we
all.
do. Okay,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's way too much math for a writer for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
like, yeah, no, that's way too much brain.
Because that's what I've
Yeah,
always thought, like, dude, I can't do it simply because I don't know how to figure that
right.
out.
Yeah, and it is weird, like, once you, like, really dissect it, because you see, where the staple is, of course,
Yeah.
and you could really dissect the whole book and see how they do it. It looks kind of insane once you think of that side. If you're just reading, a comic from your LCS or whatever, you're not thinking of that at all. But yeah, it is kind of crazy how they have to do it, and sometimes that causes the printer to mess something up, and that's why you need to get a proof
Mm.
of the physical kind versus just the digital. Actually, the Fall Within 3, I got the physical print proof, and they swapped 2 or 3 pages that actually made one of my page turns not a page turn anymore, and then
Oh,
actually changed the story. Still worked, but I didn't like how it worked. So
yeah,
I was like, no, I need that page turn. That's the reason why I put it there, is to you change the page, and it's like, oh crap,
yeah,
you have to have that. So I was able to fix that because I got the proof. If I didn't get the proof, I would have had 400 issues that were all crap.
yeah.
That's an expensive bill to be very sad about, for sure.
Right. So okay, so then you get the proof, you approve the proof, you get the shipment, it comes in however many boxes. Do you like, and you just order, I'm assuming you order Gemini mailers like through
Yeah.
Gemini,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you can find deals different places at different times. I've also got an LCS that he ships a lot of stuff, so I can get deals, through him
Ah,
that I
cool.
can't get on my own. So I get his discount type of thing, helping me out.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, and the bags and boards and everything, all the non-flashy stuff that everybody has to have to make it a nice, neat presentation to send out
Yeah,
in the mail, and to keep in your own long boxes. So
right.
all the non-flashy stuff that you got, the ink for the printer that you have to have the 2 stickers pages for the labels, all like
Yeah,
very specific things that you don't really think about when you're making a comic
right.
until you have to do that step.
Yeah,
So
because
it
then
gives
you're
me,
like, I just want to make a story. And then
yeah,
it's like, well, no, you need to think about where this is going to go. And are you going to have a
yeah,
UPC on the back for a future price? And what's that
yeah,
going to be? And how do, and then suddenly you're like, never mind.
so
I don't,
many
I don't
things.
need to make a comic. I'll
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
it was all a joke. Cool, cool, cool. The last thing then, like, so you've got the book, you've sent it out to people. It probably happens before this point, but like, do you copyright your stuff? Like, how does that, is it just as simple as like printing copyrighted and the year and whatever, like in the book?
Yeah, somewhat. So that only goes so far, though. It's not really what I've been told in the past, because I've asked this a million times myself, because every creator is worried about their stuff being stolen
Yeah.
or being sued, or whatever, just the stupid stuff that this world brings upon your life.
My hot coffee
Um,
was hot. I'm suing you for $8 million.
exactly.
And she
There's a
won.
warning on there because someone actually sued over it. So
Yep.
it's
Thanks,
not
McDonald's.
as stupid as you think, because people have done it. But yeah, I mean, it's like what do they call it? Not lazy man's, but the poor man's copyright, I guess. Yeah, there you go. The poor man's
Yeah.
copyright. You put it in the title page, or the credits page, saying this is authorized by this person this year, and that kind of thing. And it goes a good distance, but it's not 100% either in law. So
It
it
won't
just
like hold
depends.
up in a court,
Yeah,
but as far as any, like, it'll deter the other lazy poor guy from stealing it from you.
yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. If
Yep.
you like, have you gone through the official, whatever, the rich man's?
Yeah, I know it's expensive, and that pretty much, as far as I know, I don't know of anybody that's really done it, just because it's not worth doing it.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, but I'm not the professional at that side of things, so don't quote me on that. I think
55 minutes into episode 67, Sean said.
What's his name? There's the comic lawyer. Is it Jamal or Gamal Hennessy? What's his name?
I have no
Comic
idea.
Connection. He's got a podcast too, and they have a company, and he's literally been like the lawyer for like Marvel and I think DC both at one point.
Oh, wow.
In time, and you can go to him if you have actual law questions. So definitely don't quote me on any of this. This is what I've been told in the past from other creators, and none of us are lawyers for sure.
Right.
But he's he'll review like your like if you're getting an approval to be published or whatever, and he'll look at like your whole agreement and see if it's legit, or if they're going to steal everything that you have no rights, that kind of thing. So his company is literally for creators. So
That's
if you
cool.
look for him, I think it's Gamal, and I think his last name is Hennessy, but you can find him all over Facebook and everywhere. I can let you know later too, because I listen to his podcast all the time, and I'm in one of the Facebook groups for like showing all your stuff. They are one of them. I just can't think of the exact name right now. But,
got it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, that goes along with that whole community thing of like, it's good to know that there are people out there that have the creators in mind first, not the company that's trying to take the money and take the idea and farm it out for everything all the time. Like it just comes back to like big corporations, man. They're all terrible and awful and evil, and I don't care. Just go indie all the time.
Yeah.
As is the punk way. So, dude, like, that's so much information that I'm really like thankful that you shared with me. Because like, I just like the Tony Stark aspect of like, let's talk about paperweight. Can we? Like, how do you judge based on matte and glossy finish for a cover versus cardstock, or 10-point versus 12-point? Like, all of those.
Everybody has a different opinion on paper, so I wouldn't give my opinion on paper because it's a huge deal too. Some people are like, heck no, that's not the way to go. I would never do that. I was like,
right.
Okay.
See, so that's why I
know what I like personally, and that's what I do with my comics. Is the personal opinion on that one. There's a lot of views on that one, that's for sure.
That's I have heard that, which is why I was like, I don't even need to ask, because it's purely like a what do you like? I mean, whatever.
Honestly, I've liked all of it in the past. I mean, you've got the less glossy, the more like newspaper feel, of course, is like nostalgic to all the old school comics. And then you've got the more glossy, like nowadays kind of comics. I mean, as long as a cool story, I could care less really what it feels like. I know what I like personally, but I'll read anything. I don't care what the paper is. As long as it's good. That's all that matters.
I prefer the old school like newspaper print, only because, and this is so dumb, but like I just have naturally oily skin. And so like before I read comics, I like will wash my hands, and then between every page turn, I like wipe them on my jeans. Because if it's the glossy paper, like you get a big oily thumbprint on the page, and that stays there. And I don't want to be the guy that's like, all right, take my, turn the page, wash your hands, turn the page from Rocko's Modern Life. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So I prefer the newsprint and the nostalgicness of it. There's something about opening, like, I've become a sucker for searching out these old like 60s and 70s horror books.
Nice.
But like, when you open that very carefully, because the binding it's a low grade, but it's a number 1 and it's mine and it's the Outer Limits. But like, I open that book and I just am the weirdo that's like, I love how old comics smell.
Right,
and like, if they could make a candle that smelled like old comics, man, I would buy like 15 of them just to have. Not that I couldn't open any of my like 12 long boxes, and but they're all encapsulated and bagged and boarded and, nicely tucked away. And I don't want to have to untape the thing every time, because then you stretch the bag and then it's not as crisp. So then you got to rebag it and you got to buy it's OCD, man. It is the enemy of collectors.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, all right. So back to your comic, now that you've answered all of my questions about logistics and making comics. So like Recon and the Little One is the first of what you plan to be a 4-part series of one shots that tie together in the fourth. Like,
Yep.
tell me about that, because that's like wicked smart.
Well, I've always liked one shots, and you see plenty of one shots out there on Kickstarter. Because I mean, sometimes somebody that's backing you, they want the full story, and they don't want to wait. Because sometimes, any creators, it's going to take some time to get that story out there.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to wait, which I totally get. So I wanted to do, and really the reason why I started with the one shot this time around was because I want to do everything that I did with the Fog Within, but opposite. So like everything, for the most part, almost everything that I did was purposely opposite of the Fog Within. So that series is going to be, as long as I can continue on with, getting the Kickstarters funded and everything, I wanted to be it's a 12-issue miniseries. Well, this is not 12 issues. This first one, as long as it goes well, it's already a one shot. It's a one and done. You can know everything you need to know about the story. And then if I can continue on, then I'm going to do different time frames of the same universe. So like there'll be in the future, there'll be some of the origin of like how this came to be. Because like this story starts out, the first page just gives you a quick description of, it's the end of the world. Humans died off. They were trying to survive. These zombies came from the food. They couldn't stop them. There wasn't enough humans to fight them anymore, so they built robots to fight their war against these zombies. Humans lost, and now the robots that were built for a purpose to save humanity has no purpose anymore. So he's rushing away in this abandoned building, and then all of a sudden he hears a girl scream, which isn't supposed to be there anymore. There's not supposed to be any humans left. He hears a scream. He wakes up and immediately goes into that mode of protection, and he's excited that he has something to protect now. So I only gave the backstory as like the first page, like quick description. So one of these issues will go into the actual war, like when they were built, the other robots that are out there, not just Recon, and maybe some of the backstory of the Little One as well. And then so this one ends, and then the next one, my thought is to have years in the future after this issue ends, still in this universe. And then, like you said, after those three are done, to have everything that you've seen happen, people that are introduced in the story or whatever, and they'll all be combined into the fourth issue as a finale that won't be a one shot. These first three will be, and then the finale will bring it all together. And I've seen that with other stories too, in bigger quantities, like Sync is a huge one out there in the indie scene. I mean, I absolutely adore Sync.
Yeah.
I picked that up early last year, and I'm definitely a backer for life on that one. So he does a lot of one shots, and now he's starting to build into this. They're not one shot. I mean, I guess they're still considered one shots, but he's bringing people together in that universe, and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, they're starting to overlap. And while we're talking about it, Volume 3 is back. The campaign is live right now. They've already surpassed funding. The stories that are in Volume 3, I've got all the floppies for, because similarly, like when I discovered it, I was late to the game, so I got the first 2 trades and I think it was the Dig standalone and maybe issue 11. It is like when I came into it. And I was like, man, I'm blowing my entire Kickstarter budget for like 2 months on this one. But it's like Alex McCormack's artwork is so brutal. Like, it's so good. And like, I love how it's told, where it's a bunch of, it was like, oh, I can read anything. Like, I didn't have to get the first, like, spend over $100 on all this stuff. I could have just picked up the Dig story or the issue 11 or whatever. And then now that they're getting tied in and you're starting to see overlaps and starting to see this bigger narrative that he's been building in the one shots, it's just like, oh, it's all coming to a head. And like, it really is like one of the best indie horror books that there is, just period. Sure. It's so good. So I love that, like, you're taking that same idea, because admittedly, I'm like, give me a one shot. Like, I want to see, if it's my first time backing somebody, I generally like to get in on a one shot so I can get a feel for, like, okay, is this a creator that I'm gonna like now back everything all the time automatically? Or like, is it like, nah, if you do a one shot, like I'll do that, but I can't do every campaign for you. And so I love that you're doing that because it's very intro new reader friendly.
Exactly.
And then you do that 3 times, and then everybody comes back for the 4th one. You go gangbusters on the 4th one, and then that leads you into what's next. Do you go back to the Fog Within? Do you like always have that going, and you just want to do more explorations and other stories? Like
right now, so my thought is I'm doing the Fog Within 4 in June. So we're already working on the art and everything, and the script's been done for forever. So I'm actually doing both of these at the same time, which is awesome to see. And I'm actually working on 3 different anthologies at the same time. So it's like every other day I'm getting some kind of step, whether it's script approvals or, you know, line art or colors, and it's awesome to see everything all at once. And without doing this Recon story, I never even would have done anthologies because I just thought I had this one story in mind. I didn't think I was, you know, a good enough writer to keep on, you know, expanding my different universes and everything. And now I can't stop. Like I'm submitting to everything. If something has a cool idea, like the premise, then I'm just running with it and just writing a script on the fly, you know, and I just can't stop myself. And it's an awesome feeling for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
So the Fog Within 4 will be out in June, and then the trade will be out after that, probably August, September on Kickstarter. And then after that, I plan on, as long as everything goes well, I plan on doing the next Recon book probably around this time next year again. Okay. So I'll be doing Recon and then the Fog Within back and forth is my plan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned it, and it's another Tony Stark thing, when you're putting together like a pitch for an anthology, do you find like, do you just submit your script, or do you have like a sample page of what the artwork would look like? Like, is it like, hey, here is what the Kickstarter campaign would be like, but just for a pitch to join an anthology? Like, how do you put that together?
So, I mean, I think some anthologies are like that, but the ones that I've done is more just like, here's the elevator pitch of what I'm suggesting for my story. And then they always suggest you have a script when you send in like your 1-page analysis of, you know, what you're going to do. And I always try to do at least the outline, maybe not, you know, the final dialogue or anything, but at least give them exactly what they're going to be getting from my writing. I don't go into the art side until it's been approved. Because I know, for one, sometimes in anthologies, you don't know if you're going to get paid for it, what that page rate would be if you do get paid, if you're going to get paid by getting the books, you know, for cheaper, or getting a certain amount of books after the Kickstarter is done to sell at cons. You don't really know what the payoff will be. And I don't have, you know, infinite amount of money just to continue on and not know all the details. Yeah, I know. I wish. Oh man, if I could just do writing and get the art for it and everything and just continue that on, I do that all day long for sure. But I got to be smart and wise with my money and my time for sure. But yeah, it just depends. Plus, if you know the guys doing the anthology, then you can ask more questions than just submitting. So it's all different levels for sure on the anthology side.
Yeah, that's cool, because I have seen in a couple of the Discords that I'm trying to be more regularly active in, I've just been a lurker in like, I'm in like 4 different Discords, and I just lurk all the time because I'm like, I just don't know, like, and but like I want to be more intentional about like communicating in there, because I'm still figuring out Discord too. Like I didn't know Discord before I joined Nerd Initiative, and they used Discord for all of our like communications and book review grabs and all that stuff. And so that was like, okay, I got to learn how to use Discord now. And then from there, it was like, well, you know, Vault has like a special Discord just for Vault comics. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've read Vault stuff. Like, yeah, okay, I'll join the Discord. Like, if nothing else, I just ignore it and whatever. And then like some other podcasters that I know, like Muscles in the Multiverse, Joe started one, and so I'm in that one. The Comic Book Yeti, they've got one, and so I'm in that one.
Yeah.
And so like now I'm in several, but I'm still just like, what do I, but they're like in two of those, there's a whole anthology chapter or section or whatever the hell they're called. And people are like, does anybody know like anthologies that are accepting pitches right now? And I always look at them and I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like I would love to be a part of an anthology and like write for something that went into an anthology, mainly because then that's a writing credit that I would have.
Yeah,
and I feel like that would be easier than like, hey, I've never written anything, but here's my magnum opus. Right?
Right. Yeah. It's not recommended. I know that.
yeah. That's what everybody says. It's like, start small and then and so I'm always curious when I see those, but then I never know, like, do I have to have an artist? Are they going to pair me with somebody? Like, do I find somebody? How does, and so then, but nothing is ever listed in any of the, like, we're accepting submissions. And I'm like, cool. How? And I could just reach out to them.
Yeah, that's true. But each one of them, it seems like it's been different. So like I've been lucky enough to know 2 of the 3, actually all 3. I know them pretty well since I've started in all this. But sometimes it's just seeing it on, whatever social media saying, hey, I'm doing this anthology. And then you go ask more details. Like the one that I'm actually getting the colors for now at this point. I always see his stuff on Twitter and everything, but I just saw his random tweet that said, hey, I'm about to start this anthology. Here's the quick pitch. And then I immediately messaged him. And I was like, hey, what are you looking for exactly? I want in if I can. And I gave him my idea and he was like blown away. And that just made me, like the happiest guy I could be, because he's a bigger name, and seeing like he's already, backed stuff that I've done, but knowing that he wants my story in his book and he's willing to put my name out there is just an insanely different level than doing my own book, because no one can tell me that I can't do what I want to do in my book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas he can say, hey, this is my character. I don't think this is a good idea. This is crap, or this is great, So hearing it come from him is just a whole nother level too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, those are my questions. But as you know, we're not done. I have 2 more things for you. One is we're going to pose for a YouTube thumbnail here. Let me get my keyboard shortcut. And then I'm going to look learned here. I'll kind of sound 3, 2, 1. Okay. The other thing is, I'm going to put you on the spot again. If there's anything you want anybody to hear, it could be about Recon and how he's the greatest robot of all time and could destroy Wally in a battle of the Autobots. It could be about, like, I don't know why your daughter is the cutest daughter of every daughter ever. The content doesn't matter. I just want you to have some space to share whatever you want people to hear directly from you. From your brain, from your head, from your heart. So Sean, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I just want everybody to know that this comes from my heart with my daughter. This shows, that she can do anything that she can put her mind to. And like I said at the beginning, that this comes from, I want to protect her. And I know I can't always do that. So this shows my love for her and for my son as well, for his quirky attitude. And I just hope that they know that I'm always there for them. And this entire story just comes from that heart. The robot and her they don't have a relationship at the beginning, and they slowly, have that compassion for each other and build that friendship. So it's a zombie story, but it's also quirky and it's also very heartfelt. So, yeah.
Sweet. Dude, I love it. I love all the things. I'm forever going to celebrate dads that are able to incorporate their love for their kids into their work. And so like mad props to you. Just as a reminder for anybody that may have missed it, you have until Friday, March 21st at 8 p.m. to get in and back Recon and the Little One, a sci-fi horror one-shot comic. It is on Kickstarter. It is linked in this episode description, so it's super easy for you to find. 2 taps and you're there. Another 3 taps and you've backed the book, and you've helped make indie creators' hearts happy, and you're making dreams come true. and you're making this show continue, because if you're not backing the campaigns, I don't have creators to talk to. So it's all the big circle of life, Ingin Nama, which are the actual words, by the way. In high school, our show choir had like The Lion King was our theme for my junior year. And so like I wasn't singing, I was in the pit, so I like made the giant rock out of just like foam and beef tubing and a whole lot of great stuff. But they had to learn all the words, and so I saw the music, and yeah, the actual words that they're singing is like wild. I'm like, that's not at all what I expected. We don't need to talk about The Lion King anymore. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I appreciate you coming on. I really do appreciate like just all of the transparency and sharing and answering my gajillion questions as I Tony Stark your entire process. So thanks for letting me do that and being rad and coming back on and hanging out. I look forward to seeing a successful funding for you. Hang tight. I got some logistics after the button. I feel like there's something else that I was going to say, and it lost me with The Lion King. So we'll just end it. What's a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics. We are out of here. End it, and we dance, and we end it, and it's ending, and we dance.